This looks incredible. I never expected this to be the result. Holy moly. This TV, I'm going to actually make it work because it hasn't worked, I don't know in how long. You see, the power cord in the back is dead. Now it was a television that was already discarded. It seems that the original owners didn't care or want this television. Now it makes sense because the power cord in the back was completely snipped and cut off. So I got the TV working, and it worked out with my Sega Genesis right when I hooked it up right to the TV RF style. Now, although the television looked okay, it still looked good and it played pretty well after fixing it, I wanted to do the ultimate test. Can I hook up the PS5 to this TV and have it work great? Now, the first thing that I needed to do was actually get the appropriate connections because all I had was an RF unit for my Sega Genesis. And this TV didn't even take coaxial cables, you know, those thick cables. I made a video a long time ago explaining what cables work with HD TVs to make them look good. It was one of my first videos many years ago. But off of this television, it doesn't even use coaxial. It uses screw-in VHF. Now, if you don't know what that is, where instead of taking any type of HDMI or modern connection, you have two screws that go into the television in order to give you a perfect signal. Now there's one that's UHF, which is mostly antenna, and then VHF if you have a direct signal of something. And back in the day, those used to work to actually be able to give you the 13 standard channels that were available over the air. It's a Zenith too. Now Zeniths were pretty good back then, and from what I've seen off the television, off of the first thing after fixing the electrical wire, it's pretty good. But can we get a PS5 to work on this TV? Now, first things first, it wasn't as straight as buying a cord that goes from PS5 straight to this type of television connection. I had to buy several adapters. First, since the PS5 is an HDMI console, plugged in an HDMI from there, but then there was no direct into coaxial or anything. I needed a converter to convert HDMI to RCA. That's the yellow, red, and white cable. Now that downgrades the signal a bit, but it's necessary for this type of television because it's not going to do 1080p or 4K or anything like that. That's way too old school. Then that adapter, because this television doesn't have RCA connections in the front or in the back, I needed to convert that into coaxial. So I needed another adapter for those traditional cables. So I did those cables that they used to be relevant in the 80s and 90s where you kind of screw it in. And a lot of internet modems actually take that type of cable before it gives you the internet. So that's the type of cable that I used here. After connecting that, I needed to convert the signal again. Now the television already had a broken down converter from that coaxial, screw in to those two little connections that are necessary for the TV. But I bought a new one because that one was really poor quality condition. Really bad quality for this converter, so I bought a new one and a fresh one. But now let's see if it works at all. Now the systems I'm gonna test today are the Steam Deck, my Sega Genesis, and the PS5. See how they look and if they even work through this monster of a connection, this tower of power, let's say you will, from the systems to the television. Now first, let's turn it on because I fixed it, it should work. Still waiting. Now these old school televisions, they took a little bit of time to actually turn on before they gave you any signal. Now I'm getting a signal here, but it's all black because I've got the connections already connected here. Now what I've got connected right now is the Sega Genesis. Now the Sega Genesis, when I tried My HDMI Sega Genesis connection, it goes straight into the port of the Genesis and immediately goes to HDMI. That didn't work. It just gave me no signal. So instead, I have a Genesis to RCA connection, which I plugged in to get it to work because that's the only way this thing was gonna work. And let's turn it on and see how it looks. Looks pretty good. Fills up the screen. It looks pretty much, signal is as clean as I think it could be off of one of these things, and it fills the screen, which I absolutely think is pretty awesome. It's a classic Sega Genesis look with 4x3, Sonic playing. The colors are nice, but they're a little faded if you're used to LCDs or OLEDs or anything like that, but it looks really clean. And it's 480i. It's the way it's supposed to and was meant to look. So you got all the scan lines. I'm gonna actually go to a Sonic game where you have water because I wanna see how clean like the particular water effect would look. So I'm gonna reset this and play Sonic 2. Sonic 2. It looks good, but I wanna see the water effects, because they're supposed to, when you play it on an LCD, they look pixelated. The transparency effect looks really good. It doesn't look as pixelated as it used to. These are real transparency effects that the Sega Genesis was able to use. It looks really good. CRTs are best at this, and the fact that it looks like they're behind the waterfall, and it's just convincing to my eye that, yeah, it's a valid transparency effect. But if you play this on a regular LCD, you don't get that, which is nuts that the programmers were able to program that and make it look as good as it did. Like transparency effect here too. No pixelation. It's like, it's really good. I love this. All right, I'm done gushing over Sonic, but we're gonna upgrade to the Steam Deck. Now Steam Deck, as you know, it's a portable gaming console meant to act like a PC, so I should be able to switch resolutions in the format that I need to, but how do games look on this? Let's give it a shot and try it out. Here we go. I'll turn it on. Immediately it says no signal, but that's because it's booting, and boom, I've got the Steam Deck working, and it seems to be in a good resolution. Now, in the Steam Deck menu settings itself, you have the ability to set your resolution to 640 by 480. That's how I set it here, so that it can fill the screen as much as possible, top to bottom. But now when it comes to playing a game, let's see how it looks. Now you can tell, like right when it's starting off, you've got block bars in the top and the bottom. So like some of these games, you'd have to reset your resolution. But I'll tell you my experience with most games off of the Steam Deck, you can't escape the top and bottom black bars, no matter how you set the resolution. I haven't tried Cowabunga Collection, so let's see if they can offer that adjustment. Right now, the resolution is locked to 1280 by 720, and I can't change it. That actually is a problem with a lot of the games that I've got for Steam Deck. We'll try one more. We're gonna try Sonic Mania too, to see how that looks. It looks pretty good. I'd still probably rather play this on an actual HD screen. It looks good though. It looks good, but not great. Those black bars on the top and bottom. The Sega Genesis itself, I will say, looks a ton better than this. But let's try an actual 3D game. Here we go, Metal Gear Solid Delta. Let's see how it looks on a traditional CRT. Now, first things first, you could already see the black bars because, again, originally meant to be widescreen. Let's see if we can switch any of the settings in post. Even though the Steam Deck is already 640 by 480, a lot of the games are still defaulting to at least 720p. I will tell you that that small text is illegible. You can't really see it. I will say this, these videos that play, these like pre-rendered videos, look incredible on this television. They just have an extra like perfection. It's almost like an anti-aliasing times 10 because of it. So this looks It's weird, but it almost looks better than an actual LCD when it comes to the potential quality that you're looking at. It's just like no pixels. It's just real life, which I like. Let's get the game started. I will be honest, far from playable. This is not playable. You can't read any of the text on screen. And although it looks pretty detailed, this game is not designed to be played on a CRT at all. Everything's way too tiny. And I'd rather play on a Steam Deck than here. But I mean, if I had this game way back when in the 90s, I would find a way to make it work because it still looks pretty good. Before we move on to the final level, we're going to go to Sonic Mania, which is a game that's tend to think back to the 90s time, and we'll see how it looks and how Steam Deck is able to process it. Let's quit out of this game. Now, Sonic Mania, black bars on the top and bottom, and it's Sonic. It's definitely Sonic, but he looks a lot smaller than he did in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. It looks good, and you get a wider perspective, which in this game was supposed to be better for Sonic because you can see more. So Sonic is a lot smaller here, but everything's like stuck to widescreen format. And then of course, score, time, and rings are a little bit off to the left too much because this game wasn't really made to be played on a CRT TV. But we're gonna move on to the PS5. It actually works. If you notice, unlike the Steam Deck in games, full screen here. So I'm going to choose my profile, but we're gonna go to a game that we were playing before on the PS5 on a CRT, Sonic Mania. Now we saw how Sonic Mania worked on the Steam Deck, but now this is more of a full screen experience and I'm already feeling nostalgic and old school. This is awesome. Look at this now, it does look kinda 16-bit, but the animations are better than the Genesis. But playing this on a CRT, freaking incredible. The animations are better on this, but the Genesis version has a better look for this than this actual Sonic Mania update. Genesis wins. I'd rather play the Genesis than, at least look-wise, right? But I mean, when you're actually interfacing with this new modern interface, it does not work for CRT televisions. But when you're playing like an old school game like that, it's not that bad at all. But we're going to play WWE 2K24. Slightly older, but it's the one I have. I don't have the recent one, which is way overpriced. So to play this game on an old school television, modern game, it's like, will it be the graphics I always wanted on one of these screens? Let's find out. I had to pick Stone Cold versus Bret Hart from their infamous match on WrestleMania 13. This looks incredible. I never expected this to be the result. Holy moly. It looks almost real. It looks like almost authentic. Obviously I know it's a video game, but like, holy. I'm watching an old school wrestling match and it feels like I never imagined it to look this good on a CRT television. If nothing else, I mean, I know the menus are a little difficult, but if nothing else, I recommend playing a wrestling game, an old school match on our CRT wow, that is nuts. I think I would rather play these games on a CRT than a modern television. It's just incredible. This is like the crowd says, this is awesome. All right, so there you go, PS5 on a CRT television. Not only does it work, but when it comes to certain games, like 16-bit style games, or I'd say even wrestling games, there is nothing better. Holy moly. That's all I got to say about that. Definitely old school gaming is back. Hopefully they start making new CRT televisions for modern day, because grabbing these old classics are a mission in themselves. But thankfully I was able to rescue this one and have a gaming experience that I never thought I'd have. off of an old building that was thrown away to now in my home and be able to show you guys, this TV's legacy is lasting longer than it probably was anticipated. But as always, thank you, and you could make my day if you subscribe today. This is Magnus, I'm out. I'll leave a link to the adapters that I included in this video. Definitely check them out if you're interested in doing this type of similar setup. As always, see you guys later. Bye.